For this mindfulness insight practice to be successful, one needs confidence in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And also, it is vital to have confidence in your meditation teacher, and especially self-confidence that you believe you are able, you have the ability to do it. That's why retreats are programmed with daily Dhamma talks and interview to dispel doubts and confusion on your immediate practice. A yogi may think he or she might be on the right track, but found out it is not so at interview. On your own you think everything's okay, but when you go to interview, you'll find a lot of deficiency. Of course, not totally wrong, but it deviates from the precise or correct execution. That's why reporting sincerely and truthfully is critical, because the teacher can correct you only based on what you report. Yogis who are attending long-term retreat, let's say from 2 months to 6 months, must put special effort on daily activities, because in the long run the yogis become slack with time. After grounding oneself with morality group and putting theoretical wisdom as the crown, now one must engage decisively with concentration group, which is effort, mindfulness, and concentration, Viriya, Sati, and Samadhi. Without mindfulness, built with arduous effort, concentration cannot be developed. Without concentration, there can be no experiential wisdom. So, right effort and right mindfulness are indispensable to activate right concentration. You can use the word right or correct, whichever one you prefer. Observing mind. Observing mind must always connect with meditation object of every present moment. If the connection is precise and stick with the object to the end. Concentration will arise concurrently. At the same time, while you are doing that, it arises concurrently together with effort and mindfulness. But it must be precise, and it must be continuous from the beginning to the end. Mindfulness must be with each and every object of arising without missing to establish right concentration. It requires a certain degree of concentration to see the true nature of mind and matter. Lack of effort will allow laziness, boredom, physical and mental pain, and self-disappointment to set in instead of insight. So don't be half-heartedly putting effort, put full effort. We are doing all these things to practice full foundation of mindfulness. Let me go fairly in detail about the body contemplation or mindfulness of the body. You contemplate the body in the body. To start with, at the beginning, pick up an object that is most obvious and easy to observe. And also an object that you can experience all the time if you give attention to it. And that is the rising movement and falling movement of the abdomen. Observe each movement. Each movement means rising movement is one movement, falling movement is another movement. Observe each movement from the beginning to the end. This is very important in this method. Don't superficially know the movement. You must be able to watch or observe or know from the beginning to the end of the movement. Once you can maintain one movement after another without any break or any gap, in other words, you're getting momentum, building up momentum, you will experience the details or the specific characteristics of the object. But first, you must have a continuous mindfulness without a break and a gap. It is important to stay at present moment, to know exactly as it is. It's very important to be at present moment. Only then you will understand. Because let's say an object arises and passed away. You are not aware of that at that time, and later you go and think about it, because not too far. When you think about it, when you try and remember it, when you recall it, you won't be able to recall or remember 100%. Some 75, some 80, some 90, but never 100%. To get 100%, to know 100%, you must be with the object as it is happening, which being present moment. And also, don't think about the object ahead before it comes. Sometimes, let's say you order a dish. Before it comes, you're thinking about it, how good it will be based on your old memory or whatever. And when it comes, it may or may not be exactly as you think it could be. So if you think about an object ahead of time, it's simply a speculation, not exact. In other words, no thinking about past or future, period. One must always dwell on the object of the present moment. These are the key points. Sounds very simple, but very critical and important in this practice. Buddha said, always dwell in the present moment before it passes away. Dwells means live. You live in the present moment before it passed away. To be able to dwell at the present moment before it passes away requires right effort. Without effort, you can't. It requires right effort. If one can be with objects that are arising every moment, okay? If you can be with the object that is arising at every moment, then one has applied a great effort to establish right mindfulness. You must put a lot of effort, one object after the other, but always at present, always at present. If you can do that, that means you have already established right mindfulness, samasati. And if you have applied right effort and established right mindfulness, at that time, at the same time, the right concentration is developing. You don't need to separately develop concentration. Just do the two, right effort and right mindfulness. Concentration is concurrently developing at that time. This concentrated mind, this calm and collected mind, has the power to see the true nature of the mind and matter, Namarupa. To have right mindfulness, samasati, one needs to aim the beginning of the arising of the object. When the object arises, it has a beginning, it has a middle, and an end. You must be able to aim the beginning of the arising object. And also you must be able to aim all the succeeding stages, which mean the middle parts. Aim. And finally, aim and know the disappearance of that object. That's how one must observe. Know precisely exactly when it arises and how it is changing throughout the middle parts and when it ends with precision. And if you are able to do that, that means you have right mindfulness. If you don't have that complete, if you have only partial, you don't have the right mindfulness yet. You have mindfulness, but not right, correct, what we needed for the practice. Okay, so there's a word we say, one must aim, okay, aim at the beginning of the rising, succeeding stages, aim succeeding stages, aim the disappearance. That aiming towards the object, the word aim. Let's see, related to the word aim. The application of effort or exertion, application of effort to aim all the stages beginning to the end of an object, to establish right mindfulness is called right effort. Okay, it all builds around the word aim. The exertion, the application of effort that you put to observe an object from the beginning to the end without missing anything, to establish right mindfulness is the right effort. The definition of a right effort, Sama Vayama. In this particular practice, while we are observing, it builds around the aim, aiming the object, aiming the beginning, aiming the middle, aiming the end. The exertion you put in is right effort. So now we know what Sama Vayama, right effort, means, with precision, without any confusion. Now, the act of aiming, or you can call it the path of aiming, or you can call it the process of aiming, the act of aiming, the path of aiming. That is called right thought, Sama Sankappa, right thought, Sama Sankappa. That's in the wisdom group. Right effort is in the concentration group. This, the act of aiming, or the process of aiming, is the right thought, Sama Sankappa, wisdom group. And the mental state of aiming, again aiming at the object, but all stages, no exception. Mental state of aiming. What is the mental state? Cetasika in Pali. The mental state of aiming is applied thought. The mental state of aiming, Cetasika. Cetasika in this Sama Sankappa, right thought. Mental factors, mental state that associated with the act of aiming is called applied thought. In Pali, Vitakka. It is the same as in Samatha meditation. These are different but very close. That's why I'm putting emphasis, because these are the critical aspects of our practice and we should know it with precision and clarity. Vitakka is a Cetasika mental state, and that mental state is associated with the act of aiming, Sama Sankappa. Now, the characteristics of right thought, the characteristics of Sama Sankappa. What are the characteristics? The characteristics of right thought is the application and connection of the observing mind and the object observed. The application and connection of the observing mind and the object. Those are the characteristics of right thought, Sama Sankappa. So in here we are talking about two groups. Sama Sankappa, right thought, is the wisdom group. And right effort is the concentration group. Right mindfulness is the concentration group. And also we try to define how to identify right thought. Define with the mental states as well. So you can always run back and forth till you understand. One is the application of effort for the right effort. Another one is the act of aiming, right thought. Mental states of aiming, applied thought. Characteristics are the connection between the observing mind and the object observed. When aiming act, or the act of aiming, or the process of aiming become precise. When it becomes precise on an object. Before you are aiming and you're observing, they are not precise. As they are not precise, you perceived one way. And when it becomes precise, you don't see that anymore, you see differently. When this act of aiming becomes precise, what you previously perceived, let's say on this rising movement, before it is the rising movement, the beginning, the middle, and the end, just one big movement, boom. That was before. But when you become very precise and observing as being instructed, as has been instructed, it becomes different. Your perception change. What happened was, this one big movement becomes a series of mini vibrations, rising movement, a series of small little movements. That one big movement is a composite of a series of many small movements or vibrations. That's what you see. Not only that, you also see or experience stiffness, tension, fullness, increasing pressure throughout. Those things too, you see, you feel, you know. Before it is just one big movement. Now as you see many movements, along with it there's a stiffness here, tension here, a little poke here, a poke there. Suddenly it becomes full, there's a pressure gradually increasing. All these things, you can see them as clear as day and night. That is the point when you have the precise observation. Don't think that you can get these all the time. You do, you observe, you observe, you observe, you observe. At one moment it clicked and you see them in a different way. And whenever you see these things and then frequency become more and more and more, then it becomes natural. But the first time it is quite interesting. Okay? Similarly, like in the rising movement, we also have another object, falling movement of the abdomen. And the falling movement, though before it is just one swoosh, just gone, disappear. But in here too, you will see a series of falling movements, or you can say a series of little waves. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and just go along. And along with that wavy little movements, you can also feel a feeling of relaxation and a feeling of sometimes hollowness, emptiness. Sometimes you sense the abdomen, sometimes you don't even sense anything, stomach or abdomen, simply relaxed feeling, a hollowed feeling, and an empty feeling, soft feeling, and gradually pressure releasing. Because of the gradual release of pressure, you're feeling those softness and relax and hollow. Those things, at the beginning you don't see them. Then you see them, but they are all jumbled up. You have a sense it is. And slowly you can see them very sharply, clearly, one by one. It sounds not possible at this moment, but at one point you will see. So to speak, you can live in each and every event as a universe. But you must work very hard to see that. This, we call it a supportive nature, because this is the air that you are breathing and breathing out. When the air breathes in, it fills up your tummy, abdomen. And then when you breathe out, it goes out, it empties out. That's what's happening, the breath. But we don't focus on the breath, we focus on the movement of the abdomen. So, supportive nature. Let me explain what supportive nature is. You have a little rubber tube that you can blow in air and make a balloon. Okay? That's all just flat, small little piece. But you blow air in, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, big round ball. What is it? It is the air inside. The air is supporting it so that it won't fall. That's why the air or the wind has the supportive nature. Its characteristics. Supportive nature. Supportive nature of extension. It can expand and extend and expand and extend. Expansion, extension, and then when it comes in, stiffness, tension, tightness, and pressure. Because it's just like balloon. Your tummy is being expanded, extended. At that time there's a stiffness, tightness, tension, pressure, feeling of pressure. And these are in one what is called supportive nature of the wind element. But they are specific. These are the specific character of the wind element. And then movement too. Big gross movement or small fine movement, vibration. All these things are the characteristics of wind element. Specific characteristics of wind element. And when we are observing this abdominal rising movement and falling movement, which is tummy expands, tummy contract, extend, expand, contract. That's all. But when you observe the way as instructed, you become deeper and deeper and deeper, and many little things that are happening along with that so-called one big movement, you begin to see them individually. You don't have to label them. Just rising, that's good enough. Under the rising you see all these things. And all these things are called specific characteristic or the true nature, we always call it the true nature, quite loosely, but technically it's the specific characteristics of the object you are observing. This case, rising movement. And also we use the word as it is, the true nature, specific characteristics. They are all one and the same. So, what is wind element? Wind element is the composites of many movements, and its related specific characteristics we have just described. All those in one word, we call it wind element. So that's what we are observing when we are observing the rising movement and falling movement. When we are observing the expansion of the abdomen and contraction of the abdomen, we are observing the wind element. But overall, what are we doing? We are observing the body, this whole body from head to toe. But we cannot just spread too thin. So we focus on a localized area, the abdomen. And then what do? We watch the most obvious one. The most obvious is the movement. Just imagine there's a crowd sitting in front of you, 100, 200 people. Everybody's still. You don't really notice anybody. You just generally know and see. But suddenly somebody stood up or somebody waved. At once, out of the 200, you know exactly, instantly. Why? Because there's a movement. Movement is a very distinct thing to observe. That's why we chose the movement. And at the same time, the quine, the word that quine is called wind movement, because wind, air, they are always in a characteristics is moving. So we call those things wind movement, wind element, movement. But you are observing the whole body. You are not this or that, but that's one thing. Whenever you observe this body, mindfulness of the body, or mindfulness of matter, if you want a precise scientific word, quine, matter. Body is made up of matter. And this movement or vibration is only a part of a matter. But if you know the movement, you are starting to understand what matter is, what this body is, what your body is. But this movement or vibration cannot exist alone. There are 4 elements. We call it Mahabhuta, 4 great elements. They always exist together. They don't exist separately. If one exists, the other 3 exist. So there's the movement, vibration. Okay. To have that movement or vibration, you must have a substance. A substance, which is matter, a substance. And as long as there is a substance, that substance has a hardness or softness. Has a hardness or softness, or roughness or smoothness. Sometimes it can be very gross material, and sometimes it is subtle material. Sometimes so subtle you can't even see or feel, but still exists. That is the part of the body, and that one we call it earth element, a substance, a matter. And when there is a matter, in that matter there is vibration. You might not be able to feel anything. You might think it is very still, touching a table, no movement. But science has proved it. We only believe in science. Lucky to be in the age of science. Don't have to think too hard. There's a vibration in everything. Atom, electron and proton. Electron is spinning, spinning, spinning. In that little table in front of you, which is so quiet, there's an actuality is a crazily moving and spinning electrons, zillions and zillions of them. It exists. If a material exists, there's a vibration exists. And at the same time, that if that matter or substance exists, temperature exists. Temperature. A whole range of temperature. Cold, warm, hot, burning. And also that temperature has the power to disperse. Dispersion can be called a fire element. We call this temperature fire element. Hardness and softness, we call it earth element. Vibration, we call it wind element. Fire element has the power to disperse. So dispersion is also considered as the characteristics of fire element. Look at it. A solid piece of lead, you put it on a fire, it melted into liquid. Water, you can feel it, you can see it, you can drink it. You heat it up over 100 degrees, steam gone. Fire element, Tejo Dhatu, has the power to disperse. So, hot, cold, warm, dispersion, they are considered as fire element. A substance has vibration. A substance has temperature. And also, if there's a substance, there's another element called water element. Water element is something you cannot easily detect. The fluidity is a water element. Wetness is a water element. Sticky between your hands and toes is a water element. Sweat is your water element. These are like pinpointing, but we can call it cohesion is a water element. The power of water element. To give an example, there's a bunch of dust sitting. Okay. And then you pour water over it. These dots cohesed. They stick together and eventually it becomes mud. That's the power of water element. A power to be cohesive. Cohesion power or bonding power. If you go to atomic level, it's the bonding power. Atomic bonding. That is a water element. So whenever you call a matter or a material or a substance, there are four elements: earth element, water element, fire element, and wind element. They are separate individual things, but they cannot exist separately. They exist together. So what I'm showing is we are splitting it down into pieces what your body is. Your body, my body, our body is. We are so attached to it. But now we observe. Little movement here, movement there. You observe exactly, precisely as being explained. All you see is these vibrations and movement. Sometimes hot here, hot there, cold here, cold there. When you touch with something, hot and cold. And sometimes you feel the hardness. One leg pressing over the other, your buttock pressing with the floor. There's a hardness. And if you're sitting on a cushion, you can feel the softness. If you have a rough shawl, you can see the roughness. If you have a silk shawl, you can feel the smoothness. And then there's a saliva going on, the nostril running, the tears dropping, the sweats coming out. Water element. And if you are intensely and attentively observing your body, whatever is arising at the moment in your field of attention, everything is rising all the time, but your mind can observe one at a time. We think we are multitasker. In a very subtle level, no, we can't. The mind can only take one object at a time. So, whatever is prominent and dominant object in your field of attention, you observe. And eventually you come to an understanding. This body that everybody loves so much and so attached to is nothing, just this bunch of four elements trying to keep balance and maintaining it. As soon as one of the elements crept out, you become sick, you become ill, you feel painful, and eventually you even die when the elements break down. And right now you understand. Theoretically, you have the knowledge now. But you must practice, so that intellectual knowledge, theoretical knowledge becomes the experiential knowledge, which is called wisdom. That's what we want, wisdom, to know as it is, in its true nature. Technically speaking, all the specific characteristics. To do that, to see that, you need concentration. To have the right concentration, you must develop along with right effort and right mindfulness. You need concentration, samadhi group. So I'm giving you a snapshots, detail on this one point of how to observe your body. We all know there are four groups to observe. One is the body group. The next one is the mindfulness of the feeling. pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. Another group, mindfulness of the mind. The nature of the mind, the nature of the consciousness, and all its mental factors and mental associates. And mindfulness of the Dharma, specifically explained, but just like seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching will be sufficient at this stage. So those are the four foundations of mindfulness. Mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the feeling, mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of the Dharma. The other three I will let you discover by yourself, both theoretical as well as experiential. This one, the body, the matter, I give you a head start, the theoretical side. To get an experiential side, you must do it yourself. Knowing the specific characteristics or natural characteristics, or you can call it the true nature, knowing the true nature by directly observing on the object at the present moment. Okay. If you know the true nature or specific characteristic by directly observing on the object of the present moment, that is called the right view. If you know it, you have the right view. Right view is samadhi. But if you want to make it complete, more complete statement, you have the path of the right view, samadhi maganga. Maganga is the path of the right view. If you know it experientially of the object at the present moment, you have the wisdom of the path of the right view, which is the right view of the Eightfold Noble Path. One of the Eightfold Noble Path is right view, samadhi. Complete statement, samadhi maganga. You got it. So, may all of you be able to practice mindfulness insight meditation, and may you be able to penetrate into the true nature of mind and matter, nama rupa, as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.